Thunder!
Hey everybody, how's it going? The year is just about over, and I have to say, this has been a fantastic year for gaming. We've seen so many fun and innovative titles from across the industry. It's one of those years where choosing a single game of the year almost felt impossible. Honestly, I can't think of a bad game that I played all year. But as we wrap up 2024, it's time to look ahead to 2025. While there's still a lot we don't know about next year's lineup, the games that we do know about already make 2025 look incredibly promising. With so much on the horizon, I thought that it would be fun to share the titles that I'm most excited for while also highlighting a few that I believe deserve a bit more attention. Let's kick things off with a wild card. Nintendo. 2025 is shaping up to be a huge year for them. We already know about some big Switch titles still on the horizon, but the looming reveal and possible release of the Switch 2 has everyone talking. I am beyond hyped to see what launch titles will accompany the new system. That said, the Switch 2 is such a wild card that it could totally change this entire conversation. So for now, let's focus on the games that we know are coming. The first big Nintendo title that I'm looking forward to is Pokémon Legends ZA. We don't know much about it yet, but I have a good feeling that this one could be special. With no major Pokemon release this year, it feels like Game Freak has taken the time to really focus on making this title the best it can be. While the performance issues in Scarlet and Violet have me slightly concerned, Legends Arceus ended up being one of my favorite Pokemon games ever. If Legends ZA can sort of build on that formula rather than just sticking to the mainline mechanics, I think that this could be a really special game. Fingers crossed. The other big Nintendo title that I'm excited for, along with everyone else, is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It still feels crazy to me that this game is finally real. Feels like we waited forever for this game to even be talked about, and even when it was talked about, then we had to wait even longer after the restarted development. Either way, the game is finally set for 2025, and I cannot wait to dive back into another Prime entry. I've always enjoyed Prime much more than the traditional Metroid titles, and I get the feeling that this could really be a big moment for the series. Assuming that Nintendo actually puts forth the effort into making Prime 4's release as big as it can be, I think that this could quite possibly become the best-selling title in the series. We already passed that record with Metroid Dread, so I don't think that Prime 4 will have any trouble doing it again. After waiting for this long, it feels like we deserve an amazing game out of Prime 4. If their previous work is anything to go off of, I have no doubts that Retro Studios will deliver. Okay, so that does it for Nintendo, but now I want to talk about indie titles. There are a ton of indie games coming out in 2025, some from existing series and some brand new, so these are just some of them that I'm looking forward to. First up, we have Demon Tides. A full-blown sequel to Demon Turf was not something that I expected to see anytime soon. Demon Turf is one of my favorite platformers to come out in recent years, and to see it get a proper follow-up is super exciting. The first game surprised me with just how charming it was and how much fun it was to control. I honestly think that Demon Turf has some of the best movement options I've ever used in a platformer. So far, Demon Tide seems to be no different. We still haven't seen too much from the game, but it already feels like a huge step up from the first game. Everything is fully 3D now, and the game is fully open world. It reminds me a lot of the structure in Bowser's Fury, which is a big plus for me. If you're into platformers, this is one that should definitely be on your radar, and if you haven't played Demon Turf yet, you're missing out big time. Next, we have another indie from an existing IP in the form of Rift of the Necrodancer. This isn't really a sequel to Crypt of the Necrodancer, but rather a brand new game in the same universe. Where Crypt of the Necrodancer was more of a traditional roguelike dungeon crawler with rhythm mechanics, this title is more of a traditional rhythm game. I already loved Crypt and Cadence of Hyrule, so hearing that Brace Yourself was making another new Necrodancer game already had my attention. Most of the gameplay seems to be more of the traditional vertical scrolling rhythm game style, but it also looks like there's mini games that take direct inspiration from Rhythm Heaven, so that's really cool. The music in the other Necrodancer games is absolutely amazing as well, so I have to imagine that Rift will be no different. I am super excited for this game to come out. This next title is the first brand new IP on this list, Expedition 33. This is a game that had my attention from the moment that it was revealed. The game looks visually stunning with a fantastic art direction that seems to blend more traditional fantasy elements with more surreal and dreamlike environments. The voice cast is also packed full of so much incredible talent, and I can't wait to get to know each and every one of this game's characters. And I haven't even gotten to the gameplay yet. Expedition 33 looks like a true modernization of the classic turn-based JRPGs that it's paying homage to. The combat consists of traditional turn-based mixed with real-time quick-time mechanics. It feels like the team behind Expedition 33 took inspiration from so many great JRPGs. Final Fantasy, Paper Mario, Legend of the Dragoon. It's clear that these devs have so much love for RPGs. And speaking of the dev team, I want to remind everyone that this is still an indie team. Yes, Sandfall is made up of former Ubisoft employees, but the fact that this is still the first game from a brand new team is incredibly impressive to me, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. The last two indie titles that I want to talk about aren't necessarily confirmed for 2025, but it feels very likely that they'll be releasing this year. The first of which being the new 2 chapters of Deltarune. Now, this isn't like a full game release, but I still feel like it deserves being treated like one. Each chapter of Deltarune that Toby Fox has put out so far has felt absolutely incredible. I was and still am a massive fan of Undertale, and so far, Deltarune has proven itself to be a worthy follow-up to that game. While there isn't a set release date as of yet, Toby has been talking a lot about these next chapters, making it feel like the release is right around the corner, and I cannot wait to get back into this game. And then we have Hollow Knight's Silksong. I know, and I am fully prepared to look like an absolute clown if this game doesn't come out this year. However, the game was originally slated to release in 2023, and while that never happened, Team Cherry has seemingly been in heads down development mode since the last official update on the game. It feels crazy that we have been waiting this long for Silksong when it didn't seem that far away when the game was first revealed. I believe that Team Cherry had to have greatly increased the scope of Silksong, and I'm just hoping that it pays off in the end. For as much as we all joke about how long it feels like we have been waiting for this game to release, at the same time, I want Team Cherry to take all the time they need in order to deliver us an amazing sequel to Hollow Knight. Still hope that it's delivered in 2025 though. Now that I've gone over indie games, let's talk about some third-party titles. First up, we have Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I nearly put this one in the indie game section because in terms of the teams behind it, it basically is an indie game. However, being a new entry in one of Koei Tecmo's most iconic franchises sort of puts it in a different league. Either way, this game looks absolutely incredible. I love classic Ninja Gaiden, and the Game Kitchen was probably the best studio to take on this IP. They definitely know how to make really good side-scroller combat, as evident with their work with Blasphemous. They also know how to make damn good pixel art, and this new Ninja Gaiden doesn't seem to be the exception. We don't know a whole lot more about this game outside of the short reveal trailer, but I'm pretty excited for it either way. Next is a game that I never would have thought would be one of my most anticipated titles, 2XKO from Riot Games. This upcoming fighting game is set within Runeterra, the universe of League of Legends. I do not care for League itself whatsoever. I tried it once and I refuse to touch the game ever again. Now the League universe as a whole, that's a different story. I love all the different stories and characters within this world. Arcane quickly became one of my favorite animated series ever, and I had tons of fun with pretty much all of the games that Riot Forge put out before it sadly went defunct. So when Riot announced that they were making a brand new fighting game in this world featuring all of these different characters, yeah, I got pretty excited. Not to mention, the game is being helmed by the founders of EVO itself. So I think that this game is in pretty good hands. I actually managed to try out the beta for the game, and from what I played, I really enjoyed it. If the development of 2XKO continues to go smoothly, I think Riot may have another hit on their hands. So these next two are actually both Xbox Studios titles, the first of which being Doom: The Dark Ages. I mean, come on. This game just embraces the fact that Doom is inherently an over-the-top, ultra-violent series. Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal already felt like a great return to the series, and I'm glad to see that Doom doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. We only have the reveal trailer so far, but that alone sold me. They took Doom Guy and threw him into a medieval fantasy setting with swords and dragons, and that is sick as hell. Doom Guy already got a big-ass sword in Eternal, so giving him a shield and making him like a full-on warrior feels like a good evolution of that. I will say that I am a bit bummed that we probably won't have Mick Gordon doing the music this time around due to his somewhat soured relations with Bethesda, but based on what little music we heard in the trailer, it at least sounds like whoever the new composer is understands the energy that the series needs. And then we have South of Midnight. the newest game from Compulsion Games. I became interested in this game right away due to the art style in the first trailer. The game seems to be animated on twos, sort of mimicking stop motion, and the art style itself feels reminiscent of that sort of blend between 3D and hand-drawn or painted elements that can be seen in stuff like Spider-Verse or Arcane. Every single one of the character and creature designs look incredibly good, and the Southern Gothic cultural influence that's woven into the very DNA of this game already makes this game really fascinating to me, even without talking about the gameplay. The gameplay itself looks really fun too. It reminds me a lot of the gameplay in Kena Bridge of Spirits, which was another action-adventure game that I found myself really enjoying. This is a title that I'm going to keep an eye on for sure. Finally, I wanted to touch on Ghost of Yotei. So far, this seems to be the only major PlayStation title coming out in 2025, but it's a pretty big one nonetheless. I know some people have expressed disappointment in not continuing Jin Sakai's story, but personally, I'm more than fine having a new character helm the story. I'm sure that gameplay-wise, the game is still going to play a lot like Tsushima. I don't see why Sucker Punch would abandon the gameplay formula for a sequel, but I definitely think that by having this sequel take place way later than Ghost of Tsushima, it's going to introduce some new elements, both in gameplay and narrative terms. Ghost of Yotei is taking place at what is basically the end of the feudal period in Japan, so this is going to be a much different Japan than what we see in the first game. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of new weapons and combat mechanics as well this time around, but I'm more interested in how they are going to incorporate firearm combat, as we see the new protagonist using a rifle at the end of the trailer. Whatever the game turns out to be like, I'm sure it will be great. Sucker Punch is a developer that I have a lot of faith in, and I'm sure that they'll deliver yet another stellar game this time around. And that pretty much does it for all the games I wanted to talk about in 2025. I know that there are a ton of huge games that I really didn't touch on, like GTA 6 or Death Stranding 2, but I just don't feel the same level of excitement for those games as I do others. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to check out a lot of these big games when they come out. I really do like GTA, but for this video, I mostly wanted to talk about the games that really grab my interest. I'm sure that you all have at least one game that's your most hyped of 2025 as well, so feel free to say what that is in the comments. I'm interested in seeing what everyone is looking forward to this year, because I have a feeling that 2025 is going to be yet another big year for games. But for now, I think that's enough out of me. So if you guys like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the new year and in the next video. Later.